This video comes from ARTbase, the title, How to Draw Like the Renaissance Masters, 3 Best Techniques. Let's see what these techniques are. Hopefully it will help you to draw like the Renaissance Masters.
1. Life is an egg. Most of the time, Renaissance Masters like to start the drawing with an egg. In other words, with a simple oval form. Here is an example with a portrait of the Madonna by Raphael. First, we take an egg and put it next to the drawing. If we place the egg on the portrait, reverse it, then lower opacity, you can clearly see a form that represents the entire face.
Yeah, so this is a great point. This is what I'm always talking about when it comes to portrait painting. You gotta get that egg shape in first. There's always going to be this sort of common shapes or general shapes that are gonna be at the very foundation of the things that you draw and paint. So this is a great tip. That's how I usually start out with my drawings, especially if I'm doing a 1-hour portrait drawing. I'm trying to get it done in a short amount of time. You get that egg shape in there first. You can even start to approximate the eyes without even knowing who your model is. So getting that egg shape in, absolutely essential. That's going to give you a solid structure to work with.
After that, you can draw 4 strokes to defining the portrait. The top and the bottom of the head, then the left and the right. Next, you add the 3 most important distance for a face. 1 from the hair root to the eyebrow, 1 to the eyebrow to the base of the nose, the last one to the base of the nose to the bottom of the chin.
So this is something I do as well. Not quite like this. I prefer to look for the eyes. I'll also draw the nose and that line of the mouth. And these shapes are going to be very common throughout different faces. I mean, the proportions are usually quite similar. So you can approximate these things without even really using your model as an exact reference. So yeah, there's many different ways to do these sort of line drawings. There's many different ways to get these proportions in place, and this is a very common one.
Then you add the eye line. This line divides the entire portrait into 2 equal parts.
So that's what I usually draw. Usually I start with those eyes because that's going to separate it in half. You're going to get each half of the face, and using the eyes as that reference, I think is the best place to start, because now you've got it already separated in half. It's easier to break down from there because you can approximate half very accurately.
There are many parts of the Renaissance drawing that are composed with the egg technique. We can mention in particular the palm of the hand, the legs, and the various muscles that make up the human body. This technique is entirely based on volume and proportion. Therefore, you should already have a good knowledge of the structure of the head and body to be able to use it correctly.
So I think it's the exact opposite. It's flipped. So if you do these sort of proportional measurements to get a better understanding, you're just going to learn more from there, and it's a great way to start, in my opinion.
2. Convex versus concave. In the left, it's a convex curve, and in the right, a concave curve. When we start drawing, we have a tendency to draw our subject with a plenty of concave curves. So you guess it, if you want to draw a dynamic and interesting character, you have to do the opposite.
So just to point it out, this is actually something I've talked about with ARTbase. He's brought it up before. He actually identified this sort of commonality, and he expressed that, how important that is. So there's definitely some substance here to the convex versus concave balance.
If you look closely at the drawing of the master of Renaissance, you will see that almost all the curves are drawn in convex form. That means the curves towards the outside and not the inside. Here is one good tip. When it comes to the human body, there are no real concave curves, except for some very specific parts, such as muscle joint. So, concave curves are very rare and are used with parsimony to add a little variety.
So that's, yeah, I mean, a good point. Most of the time, as he said, you're going to get those convex curves. And something else that ARTbase pointed out is that you're actually going to find this in the composition as well. So it's not only in the figure, but it's also going to be in the background, that you need this balance between those different shapes and where you're actually going to be using convex versus concave. Great tips here, great tips.
3. Hatching and cross-hatching. The hatching is a mix of straight, curve, and overlapping lines while remaining elegant to the eye. I will show you 4 different examples of hatching. 1. Follow the form. 2. Straight. The straight lines allow bringing dynamism, flow, and movement. And of course, to indicate the main direction of the light. It's also the fastest way to check the drawing. And the first impression is look the laser hatching technique.
So this is the type of hatching that I would recommend. I think it has a lot of solidity. It's very easy to understand. Sometimes when you follow the form and you're actually, changing those directions based on the way that the form is moving, it can start to look a little bit strange. You may do it to such a degree that it actually hinders your drawing in a way. So I'd say do whatever feels natural, but going with just straight lines and going with a very consistent hatching is always a good strategy.
You can add as many layouts as you want. In all cases, avoid creating thick, fat line. It's better to go over the same spot several times as to press your pencil too hard from the start. In any case, always be precise, fluid, and smooth in your movement. Take your time, and the result will only be more stunning for you and your audience.
So there you have it. Those are 3 of the best techniques about how to draw like a Renaissance master. Are those the best? I don't know, but those are some good tips. So definitely think about using these in your own work. I think it's great to start out with that egg shape in particular. That's so crucial to simplify, to see the form, and to really get the general structure in place at the very foundation. So with that being said, feel free to leave any questions in the comments. If there's any videos you want me to react to, let me know. Thank you so much for watching, and have a great rest of your day.